How's it going, guys? My name is Tavarish, and today the engine from my McLaren 675 LT finally goes back together. Now, the only problem is the fact that I took it apart a very long time ago, and I don't really remember how it goes, but how hard could it be?
Towards you?
Yeah, we want to get it far up so we have...
Gentle. Yeah, it's going gentle.
It's,
like I said, we gotta
it's
watch
almost
the
in.
starter.
Okay.
We gotta put studs in. That's how. Guess what? It's gotta come back off.
Why?
The studs have to go in there.
Oh. So we did all that for nothing. So if you guys are new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy it. And consider subscribing and hit that bell if you like these sorts of projects. This, if you don't know, is the drivetrain from my McLaren 675 LT. That's right, a 1 of 500 car that I'm rebuilding in my garage with no help from McLaren and no knowledge of any other McLarens that I've ever worked on. So that should be fun. But right here is the engine, the power plant, the M838T 3.8 liter twin turbo engine that makes around 675 metric horsepower. Now, mine is gonna make maybe a little bit more. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. But today we are going to be putting this thing back together. My car had a bit of an accident, and when a car has an accident and it has an engine in the middle, what happens is sometimes that engine doesn't stay in its place, and this one definitely didn't. Well, as you can see, it cracked this aluminum tube right here for the coolant pipe, and it also broke the mount for the engine. Now, a very long time ago, I had this welded up by my friend Jared, and then I spent a little bit of time sort of filing it down so it looks sort of kind of OEM. I mean, really, looking from this angle, it doesn't look that bad. One thing that's missing, however, is the hole. This should have a hole like this. It should be drilled and tapped, and I haven't done that yet just because I want to have a second set of eyes on this. And in addition, I want to also weld this right here. We actually got a new piece. This is not a McLaren piece. This is actually a piece from, I believe, like a Chevy Silverado or something. I got it on Amazon. It was a piece of aluminum, and it is exactly the same size. We're just gonna zip this off, put this on, and then weld that, and hopefully it doesn't leak. Hopefully. But since assembling this engine, plus the turbos, plus welding, plus putting on the transmission, that might be a two-person job. Thankfully, I got a second person. How you doing, Jared?
Good, I'm 2 people.
What do we have to do on this?
Well, the first thing we'll do before pulling the front cover is we're going to borrow this undamaged dog bone, which is your motor mount, set it in position, and set the motor mount in place to use as a centering hole. So we're going to drill a pilot hole into our repair, and then we will drill it slightly larger and put a steel insert, a helicoil.
Yes, so this is actually the same size as my bolts my actual stock motor mount bolts. So in theory, we're gonna drill a hole into this, tap it, and then use steel inserts so it doesn't mar the aluminum, and hopefully it should look and perform as stock. Now, it should, right?
It's better than what was there.
Which is nothing.
Yeah, the engine was gone from that point. So
yes,
we've only improved it.
We have only improved it, and hopefully it doesn't fall through the floor. Now, what we're gonna do over here, this is pretty easy actually, and I just jinxed this entire project, so good?
Yeah, good, because I've never pulled a dampener off of a crank pulley. So this is where your crank is. This is the crank dampener. So we need to remove this, and then it's just a series of bolts, and this cover will come off, so we can do this fabrication on the table and not put any more heat into the engine.
Yeah, because aluminum takes a lot of heat, and it also acts as a heat sink. So there is a gasket here, and I think that if we start welding, like we could, in theory, just zip this off, cut this off, and then put this new piece on. But the problem there is that it's gonna introduce a lot of heat here. The gasket might get just caked or boiled or something, and we might warp some metal. So I really want to take this off the engine. Also, there's a gasket right here for the oil pan. It's just not very good.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. And we don't have to weld this on the engine. Like this, obviously, we had to weld assembled. This we can take off, hopefully easy. I've never done it. You've never done it. There's bolts, and that should come off. So.
This shouldn't be a problem. It looks fine. Okay, so, dude,
We have a dog bone.
we have a dog bone. This is a very, very big deal because when this thing got into the accident, it basically punted the engine forward and just snapped this thing right off. And now it is very, very reinforced. This should be, dare I say, stronger than the original?
Theoretically, it'll be stronger because I built up extra material than what was originally there because I figured why not? We're welding.
Yes.
So it's not pretty in some spots, but it exists.
It does exist.
Whereas
and
before, it did not exist.
yeah, now it is nice and torqued. We have the helicoil on there, all good to go.
I actually ran up torque a little past normal just to make sure. I like to test a helicoil and make it fail when you can fix it easier than when you're putting it together for real.
Yes.
And you can't.
Okay, so now all we have left to do is just stick this in the car and we're done, right?
Oh yeah. No more welding. It's all ready to go.
Yep. Actually, I'm going to now take this entire thing off, and hopefully there's not any like milkshake in here or any pieces of piston, or I mean that would be impressive.
If piston was in the cooling passages, that would be like,
Yes.
I mean, it would be disappointing but exciting.
It would. All right, let's hope that doesn't happen, but also kind of hope that happens. Okay, so a lot of work has been done. You see, there's a hole in the engine, and we have to plug that hole with this. So this is the cover for the water pump, and now it is nice and welded all around. Now, it's not exactly Mclaren quality,
And
because it's actually better than Mclaren quality. McLaren doesn't really weld all that great.
Well, looking at some of the new parts that we've gotten, it is some, MIG welded aluminum. It holds up. We were running into a little bit of porous popping out of the cast that made it ugly, but we wanted it watertight. So.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that there is a little gasket that runs all around, but it's always good to put a little bit of RTV. Now we do have to put RTV, like the gasket, the sealant, just on these.
Seal the cracks.
Yeah, seal the cracks right there. I'm a little bit concerned that this is not waterproof. I mean, you know, it's not like I don't trust your welds, but I think we should probably pressure test it.
All
so,
right.
yeah.
Want a pressure test?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good to me.
So I took out a spark plug, and here it is. Check out how tiny this thing is. So we cross-referenced the part number, this NGK part number, because I think I will be getting some colder plugs because, spoiler alert, I'm gonna go for a little bit more power. Take a look at this. This is a little bit of carbon buildup, and that only happens usually when you kind of drive the car like a grandma.
Yeah, well, when you're very gentle for the car. So there's also a timing line where you can read on the stripe where the timing is, and you can kind of see the discoloration there, which means it wasn't running very aggressive timing. And our best guess is this car has kind of been babied for most of its life. And we just kind of pictured 7,000 miles, you finally decide to show your brand new car off to your friend, and you crashed it.
And then you absolutely just eat a bowl of crap.
Everything on it is beautiful and new.
Yes.
Other than the fact it went frontwards and backwards and frontwards again into a telephone pole, but...
Yeah, other than that, it's perfect. An interesting development has occurred. We decided to just see if the engine would turn over, and it didn't, because when we had the engine on its side, the oil just kind of seeped into one of the cylinders. This is not anything to be concerned about. All we had to do was take out the spark plugs and just turn it by hand. As you can see, we found the culprit, and it made a nice...
The best part is that was no effort. Like, we pulled the plug and we just kind of touched the ratchet, and it squirted.
It squirted real good. So you wanna try to...
Sure.
You wanna go for distance now?
Well, what we'll say is, if you have an engine you know that should turn freely and suddenly doesn't turn freely, don't force it.
Yeah, don't start it.
All right, ready? We want distance now. So you're saying maximum effort?
If you can get to the trans, like, I will be very surprised.
I think we're past the big squirt, but let's see.
Oh! I'm gonna walk over here. I think we're past the big squirt. Let me tell you how far. Hey Jared, do you think we're past it?
So what do I get?
I don't know. You get a mop and bucket because you're gonna clean all of this up. Okay, now it is complete as it's gonna be on the stand. The turbos are on. We have our intakes. Now, the turbos went on without too much issue. And the turbos are not exactly how I left them. When I got this car, this turbo, well, one of the turbos, actually, I believe it's this one.
Yep.
This turbo was completely messed up. I mean, it went directly into the oil tank, it went into the car, and it screwed everything up.
This section right there was completely broken out of the center of the turbo.
So what I had to do was rebuild the turbos, and when you rebuild something, you might as well build it better, right? I took it to BNR Supercars, and they made these turbos a little bit better. So these turbos, instead of giving this engine 675 horsepower, they're gonna give it more like 800. So that's good. I think giving this car even more power is gonna be a lot more fun. These are the same guys that did my Porsche 911 turbos. Those can make like 1,000 horsepower. This is a little bit more tame, but it is a very good upgrade for all McLarens. The 570s, the 650s, the MP4s, even the 720s have a variation of this same turbo. So just hit up BNR Supercars. They are in the link in the description below. But since I'm upgrading this car with a lot of horsepower for not really much money, I mean, this entire build is a lot of money, but what I'm doing to this engine and car isn't really that expensive, I figured I would issue you guys a challenge. So I want you guys to go on autotempest.com right now and look up the most horsepower you can get for the least amount of money. And I want you to send me those listings to FoundOnAutoTempest@gmail.com, and then I'll put them in a top 10 list. So basically, just give me a list of cheap horsepower, just the sky's the limit with the smallest amount of budget. All right, back on this thing. To fix this, I had to do a few things. Now, this is plastic, and these two nipples were broken off. So I had to plastic weld them, and then I put some epoxy. It doesn't look the best, but I know that's gonna hold. Now, this entire side of the engine is full of lots of little fixes exactly like that, because we have our drilled and tapped hole, and we have this guy. This was completely sheared off, this little ear, and actually, Jared managed to weld a washer onto here, and then we just painted it silver, and this is good to go. It's actually probably stronger than the original, just because there's more surface area to grab onto.
Credit where credit is due. Tavarish there cut the washer and gave me a perfect fit up for the weld, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit of, fabrication and stuff, but it's not anything too bad. This is, I'm very proud of that. Jared welded this all the way around. This was a piece that we got from, I believe, Amazon for like $5.
Yeah, it's a universal radiator fitting part that we lopped all the rest of it off, and it worked perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much this entire piece would cost. I wager it's probably expensive from McLaren, but everything else was fine. The gaskets were fine. We resealed it with some RTV, and this should be good to go. Actually, everything should be good to go. Right now, we're gonna take this engine off the stand. We're gonna mate it to the transmission, and actually, I should probably talk about the transmission as well.
Yeah, we can talk about the transmissions. If you notice, the original one is kind of barren.
It's kind of barren, but it's also, well, there's a reason why this transmission is not going to be used, at least not right now. So we have our broken wiring here. It's just a solenoid pack. This has been ingesting water and the elements for a very long time. I don't know if that's any good, so we're going to leave that alone. Also, this was in an accident, and the axles just straight up hit the frame, and I'm not sure if the differential is good. It's also just like kind of dirty. It's not very nice looking.
Basically, we don't know anything about either of these.
Yeah,
but
yeah, they're all kind of a question mark. I should show you this. So this is where the transcooler would go, except it was ripped off. So if you take these off,
take the JB weld out, and
yeah. So this being inside the transmission is probably not great. It probably has a lot of crap in it. So
that's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah. So I got this in the big shipment that I had before from Hybrid Performance, and I think we're gonna go with this just to try it out. Now, it could be the fact that we have two bad transmissions. But this, since it looks cleaner and it looks like it hasn't been in an accident, this is gonna go into the car and hopefully it works and it doesn't mean that we have to take out the engine again.
Towards you?
Yeah, we want to get it far up so we have...
Oh. Gentle.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going gentle.
Like
I said, we gotta
it's
watch
almost
the
in.
starter.
Okay.
Oh, we gotta put studs in. That's how. Guess what? It's gotta come back off.
Why?
The studs have to go in there.
Oh. So we did all that for nothing. And would you look at that? This is one assembled McLaren powertrain or power unit. What do they call it?
I think it's a power unit.
Okay, it is definitely, this is definitely a unit. I mean, we got the turbos on there, we got the transmission on there, we got the wiring, we got the front motor mount. And Jared actually made a really good point off camera that this is the first time in 3 years that this car has had all of its motor mounts connected and torqued. I am so impressed with the work done to this thing. It just looks fantastic. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily look OEM, but this is gonna be just as good. Dude, I'm ready to put this thing in the car.
I'm ready to put it in the car, but the car's not quite ready.
You think the car's not ready? I think the car's, I mean, look at it. It looks real ready. There is a lot of work to do to get this in there. And I think in the next episode, we're gonna try to take care of all of that.
Oh yeah, we're going to remarry the rear subframe and get this plugged in. That's a lot.
It's a lot, but then I'm gonna start it and I'm gonna drive it.
You're gonna have an Exo McLaren? Exo kart?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a little McLaren go-kart. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. That has to happen. I'm very excited. Okay, you know what? How about this? We're not gonna go to sleep. Let's just do it now.
Sure, why not? Sleep's not that important.
That's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. In the next episode, this is gonna be in the car. So until next time, this is me reminding you guys that on engines like this, which are going in cars that are going to be hopefully very fast, you guys should build it better. And to do that,
you got to wrench every day.
That's right. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.